Ninja Gaiden 4 at the Xbox Developer Direct was a major surprise for a lot of people and extremely exciting if you're a fan of these games whatsoever. A lot of people thought we were never going to get them, and now we know why. We are getting Ninja Gaiden 4 as Xbox tried very hard and finally paid off. We have more information about Starfield and the no red lines situation here with Xbox games going over to other platforms, as Phil Spencer did his media tour after the Developer Direct, so he spoke on that type of stuff. Palworld has become a publisher. Physical games are essentially, I mean, they're dead, and they're definitely dead now with this information coming out. They are going away, and they are going away fast. And Assassin's Creed Mirage is getting some DLC reportedly this year, which is interesting with Assassin's Creed Shadows dropping, and we've seen more information about Shadows, which does look great. But we will jump into everything. But before we do, if you do enjoy daily gaming news, staying updated on everything going on in the gaming world, make sure to hit the subscribe. I see about half of you who watch on a daily basis aren't subscribed, so please consider hitting the subscribe button. It just helps the channel grow, gets us sent out into the algorithm more overall, and supports the content just by clicking a button. But let's jump into it right here, and let's talk about Ninja Gaiden 4, because if you're a fan of the series, I'm a fan. I've played the older games, Ninja Gaiden 2, Ninja Gaiden Black. Like they're very, very fun action games, and they can be difficult, but it takes a lot of skill to get through them in a smooth fashion and everything. And once you master it, it is a great feeling. And they dropped Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, which is phenomenal. They redid it in Unreal Engine 5. They're calling it a remaster, but it looks almost like a remake. Of course, it still has the feeling of the older game when that first came out, but it looks absolutely phenomenal. So I highly recommend if you have Game Pass, or if you want to pick it up, to do that if you are a fan of the Ninja Gaiden series. But Ninja Gaiden 4 was announced at the Xbox Developer Direct last week, and a lot of people were extremely excited about this, because I think for fans of the series, there was that question is, will we ever get another game entry into it, another numbered entry into the Ninja Gaiden series? We are getting that 2D side-scrolling one, which looks very, very good as well. So they are putting more resources and time into the series, which is great. But now we know how this happened. If it wasn't for Xbox knocking on doors and working to get this game developed, we would not be having Ninja Gaiden 4 coming out. So it's really cool to see just the progress that they have made in Japan with Japanese developers and getting some content from that part of the world that people are excited to play. We have this article here saying Xbox was knocking on doors about Ninja Gaiden 4 6-7 years ago. And this was in the interview between Gamertag Radio and Phil Spencer. And this is what he says about getting this game out for us gamers. It says, that was a project we kind of knocked on some doors and said, hey, what if, like 6 to 7 years ago? Also, he does talk about Koei Tecmo and the Japanese developers, Platinum Games and everything, and working with them. He says, I feel great about our relationships with the publishers in Japan. It's taken a lot of flights, a lot of FaceTime, a lot of listening, making sure I'm hearing their feedback. I think about Metaphor last year and our partnership on that game, the work that we've done with Sega, being on stage with Square, but yesterday with Team Ninja, just to get to roll it out yesterday and see the response is fantastic. And one of the things, if you remember at the beginning of this generation, was Phil Spencer explicitly saying how he's basically embarrassed as to how Xbox did in Japan with the Xbox One. Now, to be fair, the Xbox Series X and S in terms of just console sales has not fared very much better whatsoever. And they're trying to switch strategies here, which is trying to put games where gamers are and grow Xbox that way. So it doesn't matter what they're playing on. And if they're playing an Xbox game in Japan, they're playing an Xbox game. And I think that has a major thing here with the entire strategy that Xbox has with their multi-platform, is that especially in places where it doesn't matter how many exclusive first-party games Xbox has, the console just will not sell. We've seen the evidence basically of that, I would say, with the Xbox 360, where they had exclusive games. They had exclusive 360 games in Japan only, and the 360 still was far behind the Nintendo and the PlayStation. So it doesn't matter if every single game this generation was exclusive to Xbox or from their first parties. Specifically in Japan, I still don't think the console would sell very well. And you look at something like this, they are still going out there, even with knowing that, and making those moves to get Japanese developers to support the Xbox platform, taking obviously the Xbox funding, going with Xbox Games Publishing, putting it on Game Pass day one, all of those things where you would think, why would they want to do that if it's going to be promoted via Xbox? I mean, we've seen Metaphor sell insane amount of copies. It actually broke records, and that was marketed by Xbox itself. So they're doing a lot of work in Japan in many different ways that doesn't involve trying to push their console there anymore, because I think that the reality has set in, it is a losing cause to push the console there. But if you get Xbox published games in front of gamers in Japan, that's really all that matters if they are paying and playing into the ecosystem, at least I think from the Xbox business perspective when they're looking at all of this stuff. And I think Ninja Gaiden 4 going Game Pass day one will have people excited over there, probably be intrigued of signing up to Game Pass and seeing what it's all about and seeing what other games are coming out. Also looking into more Xbox published games, because if they're seeing this game is published by Xbox, they're probably going to start thinking, okay, what other stuff will they have that is interesting to me to be able to play? So Ninja Gaiden 4, it looks phenomenal. I really like what they did. We have Ryu Hayabusa there, which we weren't 100% sure if he was going to show up in the trailer, but when he did pop in, it was really cool. You also have the new character that you're going to be playing as. When I was seeing it as well, it was kind of looking like Metal Gear Rising, which was also a Platinum game just in terms of the combat and the swords and everything. But there's just a lot here for this game that I'm very excited to play. The traversal, the rails, the way that the characters are moving and everything. So lots to look forward to. And like I said, Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, if you haven't jumped into the series ever, you've never played it, I would highly recommend going and checking out that game. It's a fun place to start, especially with it being done in Unreal Engine 5. And if you enjoy it, there's plenty of other ones you can go ahead and check out. Now, when it comes to Xbox games on other platforms, we're going to stick on that topic because, of course, every single time Xbox announces games now, it seems like even though we know what is going on, there are going to be the media tours from Phil Spencer, and those questions are going to be asked. And I think Xbox needs to now just stick to one piece of messaging, because to be fair, although for the person who follows the gaming industry on a day-to-day basis, you know what's going on here. You know Xbox is putting more games onto other platforms, but their messaging has been somewhat conflicting. When you have Matt Booty saying one thing, case-by-case basis still, you have Phil Spencer saying no red lines, and now we have, again, Phil Spencer basically saying there are no red lines. Every game essentially could potentially be going over to PlayStation or to Nintendo. In fact, he was asked explicitly here about Starfield and whether he would commit to saying that Starfield would not be going over to PlayStation. This is from Destin Legary, who was interviewing Phil Spencer. And he says that Indiana Jones has an exclusivity window. Can you solidify that Starfield's staying put for the time being? Phil Spencer responds, there's no reason for me to put a ring fence around any game and say this game will not go to a place that it would find players, where it would have business success for us. What we find is we're able to drive a better business that allows us to invest in great games lineup, and that's our strategy. Our strategy is to allow our games to be available. Game Pass is an important component of playing the games on our platform, but to keep games off other platforms, that's not a path for us. It doesn't work for us. And then he goes on here to explain that Xbox is doing what it's doing now is to create the best platform for the world's best games. And we want Xbox to be absolutely the platform that enables that. We think that makes us unique. So he's saying here, these games more than likely are going to go over to PlayStation if, I mean, they want to put in the development and resources into getting the ports over there to the PlayStation platform, because of course Starfield would have major business success for them on the PlayStation 5. I think it would sell a ton of copies, and they know that. So it potentially it's just a matter of time before it does drop, but they're going to be looking at trying to still sell the Xbox console and other things, which you talked about in the Gamer Tag Radio interview, which is in a previous video that I put out yesterday. They're trying to sell the Xbox here on its features. And in order to do that, they need to be very good at selling those features, to market those features. We still have that issue right now in 2025 that people don't know what Quick Resume is. And it is by far the best feature, at least in my opinion, on the console. It has changed the way that you play games on a console. I think that is the feature right now that really separates previous gen and even the PlayStation 5 from the Xbox, just how good Quick Resume is when you're able to jump between games, keep games in the place where you left off. You don't even have to really worry about saving it, because you know when you jump back in, even if you unplug your console, it will load up right where you were. All of those things, and how fast it goes in between games is such a huge feature. they have to sell those features. They also have to sell more about the backwards compatibility stuff with like the auto HDR and the FPS boost and those things that bring those older games to life to almost look like new games that were released in the last couple of years. So that is the major thing here. When they talk about the console features, you have to scratch your head and think, well, they're not advertising those very good right now. There's still a lot of people out there that don't know about these features. They're going to have a huge change going forward to next gen, especially if they come out with an at-home console that is very powerful, can play games at 4K 60 frames per second, no problem, have a bunch of features that aren't available on PlayStation. They have to be able to take those features and use them as selling points where people know that there is a difference here in what that console can do versus what the competition can do. Or to me, it's just kind of a lost cause if you're only trying to sell it on the features itself. But the reality is, there are other reasons why people do buy consoles. It's not just about the features. It's not just about first party exclusives. So they will still have that. People have locked in their digital library depending on where they play now, I would say, whether you're on Xbox or PlayStation. And now they have to go out there and figure out the best way to advertise whatever they do have coming next. As he did say, there is consoles coming next. And there's just going to be, I think, a lot more choice for gamers here on how they want to experience video games via the console platform, whether that is cheaper and just getting the games, not the best resolutions and frame rates, or you want to spend more and get the premium version of these consoles and get much better experiences. And they're going to use Game Pass, they're going to use console features, and they're going to use the Xbox Play Anywhere, I think, as major selling points going forward. Now, next gen, I don't think we're going to have disc drives on any consoles, which is unfortunate for people who enjoy physical media. I enjoy my physical media. I have a mixture, of course. I have a large digital catalog, but I still like having a physical collection. And it's unfortunate that it is going away. One of my biggest fears when it comes to physical collections going away is there is still games that are fully on the disc, or if you have a Switch, that are fully on the cart. And if something happens, you lose your internet, you can still play those games for the most part if they don't require you to download or check in online. And that's going to be completely wiped out when the whole world goes digital in video games. And in fact, we've even seen things of Steam having to put, when you're buying a game, that this is only a license to the game and basically can be taken away. So that's going to be the future. It is kind of scary for game preservation. We'll see how it all works out. I'm sure there is something in the works here where they're not going to just be able to take your games away. At least that's what I hope. At least I have my finger crossed for that. But we have more and more information here that is showing that physical is absolutely finished here. US physical game spend has halved since 2021, and I think even in 2021 it still wasn't very high, so that's how low it has gotten. Box game spend is down more than 85% since its peak in 2008, according to Circana. Matt Piscatella here saying the rate of decline in US physical video game software spending accelerated in 2024. Spending on physical video game software in the US has been cut in more than half since 2021, and it is now more than 85% below its 2008 peak. We'll see if Switch 2 can help slow/reverse this trend in 2025, and I think it won't. I think what has happened here is pretty obvious, is that one, it's far more convenient to buy digital, and two, the younger generations are now becoming able to spend their own money and buy video games, and they're not used to having to buy physical media like maybe my generation or even older are used to. They grew up with that. The kids these days, the younger generations, never grew up with having to buy physical media games. So since the beginning they started playing video games, there was a digital storefront. They bought their games digitally, and they're just going to continue with that. And it's going to get worse and worse as we do go forward. No one's going to have any nostalgia in the next couple of years and generations about physical games, and the feeling of going to the store, picking it up, midnight releases, midnight launches, collector's editions, all of that stuff is kind of going away here, and we'll continue to see this decline, which makes me believe next gen, no disc drive on either the Xbox or the PlayStation or whatever other consoles do come out. The Steam machine obviously is not going to have a disc drive. They may sell disc drives on the side because they still want to be able to support whoever has physical games and backwards compatibility, but it won't be a pack-in, I don't think, when you do buy whatever comes next from these companies. All right, Palworld obviously took off, became huge, and now Pocket Pair, the publisher behind this game, they are able to open up a publishing division. And we've seen a deal they made with Surgeon Studios, the people behind Tales of Kinzera Zao, and now they're looking here to get even more games in Pocket Pair Publishing. So obviously Power World has opened up a lot of avenues for Pocket Pair. It says here that Power World director reveals insane interest in Pocket Pair's publishing arm. We give you money, you make a game. And basically, this is what they want to do. He says, we give you money, you make a game. If you want to help with marketing or something, we'll help you out. But otherwise, do whatever you want. We're giving devs the financial freedom to make games they want so they don't have to get wrapped up with the stinky rule makers and bullies. And it's revealed here that Pocket Pair Publishing is 100% self-funded, saying as a completely independent publisher, we are uniquely positioned to help developers create the games they want, free from the complications of dealing with third parties who may not have their best interests at heart. Pocket Pair and Pocket Pair Publishing are beholden to no one. We remain dedicated to making fun games, and we're so excited to now be able to help others bring their own fun games to life. So I think we'll see some cool stuff come out of this. I mean, just because of the fact that the type of games they make, Power World is just a gameplay focused, fun game. Tales of Kanzerozao, again, it has a deep story to it, but it's mainly just fun gameplay in it. So I think we're going to get a lot of those more gameplay oriented, fun style of video games, and we're moving away from those big cinematic experiences where you're watching cutscenes for 50% of the game itself. And I think that's the style of games that will mainly be coming out of this publishing division. So it'll be interesting to see. Power World, again, I think has opened up a lot of avenues for them. And it sounds like they're taking that and using it for good by trying to get more developers to make games that they really want to make, away from some other publishers that are going to make them make stuff that maybe they're not 100% invested into. And finally, if you are an Assassin's Creed fan, if you're an Assassin's Creed Mirage fan, I enjoyed the game itself. It looks like we are actually getting some DLC for that game. Again, surprising with Assassin's Creed Shadows coming out. But it does say here that the last Assassin's Creed game is reportedly getting Saudi-funded DLC this year. Savvy Games, an investment group founded by Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, is understood to be funding Mirage's DLC. And Ubisoft initially had no plans to expand the game, instead shifting focus to Assassin's Creed Shadows. This is according to Les Echos. And following a meeting between the group and Ubisoft boss Yves Guillemot, the group decided to move forward with plans for DLC. And the report does not mention the scope of the project or when this year it will likely appear. So I feel like they just got a bunch of money from the Saudi funded group. And we know Ubisoft right now is hurting. They need to be able to do whatever they can here to get money and to put out content that will potentially sell well and potentially help it grow. My question here is, it seems kind of risky to put DLC for Assassin's Creed Mirage. So is this completely covered by the group? And if they don't sell very well, does it really make a difference for Ubisoft here? Because with Shadows coming up, I don't know how many people are going back and loading up Assassin's Creed Mirage to play it. I mean, it's a completely different style of game. It is more closed. It's more like the older Assassin's Creed game. I think it is a great game, but how many people are going to be enticed here to jump into this? Because Shadows is going to be it's a big open world RPG. This is a game that people are going to be playing when it releases in March for a long time. And if you know anything about those games, they continuously add content in there. If you've been watching any of the gameplay videos, it looks very good. I think people will be pretty hooked to it. So we'll see how many people actually are interested in Mirage DLC. But on the video there, guys, if you did enjoy this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up. If you are new here, hit that subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.